This podcast is brought to you by Absolute Collagen, which is all about reducing the signs of aging. Available in convenient powder or liquid sachets. Find out more at absolutecollagen.com. I think it's time, Jill Scott, to find out how old you really are.
Okay.
Would you prefer if it was read by a doctor?
No, you go on. I trust you.
Okay. Jill Scott, your result. Hello, and welcome to What's My Age Again? I'm Katherine Ryan, and this is the podcast that looks at all things aging and asks, how old are you? How old is your body? How old do you feel? But not so aggressively. This podcast not just about finding your local hyperbaric chamber or spending 300 pounds on face cream. It is about what you do to feel young. My guest today has been described as a pioneer of women's football. She's won loads of trophies for playing Everton and Manchester City and was part of the historic England team that won the Euros in 2022. She's recently retired from professional football, but is hugely in demand as a sports pundit and a presenter on TV and in podcasts. We should also mention she was the 2022 Queen of the Jungle and is engaged to her long-term partner, Shelley. She's 38. But is she? As with all our guests, we've tested her blood and we'll be finding out the biological age of the one, the only, Jill Scott. We'll also be joined by Nicola Conlon, our resident scientist, to interpret Jill's results and find out what all the football has done to her body. Jill Scott.
Hello.
We're so lucky to get you today.
Oh, I feel so lucky to be here.
Do you? Because it's quite an invasive format.
Somebody did just turn up at my house and
Yeah.
say, can I take some blood? Katherine Ryan's asked. And I said, yeah, if it's Katherine, she can have my blood.
I appreciate your blood. And you know that we have tested it. I don't have the results yet.
Okay.
But it could go either way.
Okay.
You could be older than your chronological age. You could be younger than your chronological age.
Right.
I know you have a competitive spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Which way do you think it's going to go?
I'm not too sure, actually. I have a little bit of a story about the day when I did do the blood test. So we can talk about that if it is older, because it goes off stress levels, doesn't it?
You were having a stressful day?
Yeah, and I'm not usually stressed at all, but I was very stressed that day. So I've got that in my back pocket if it comes out that I'm very old. If I'm very young, my body doesn't feel as young. Obviously, a lot of sport, a lot of kind of football gone through my bones, my muscles. So we'll see.
And as a non-sport person, I don't know myself if that has an impact or not.
Yeah.
I would absolutely love it if all this time sport makes you old.
Yeah.
Be like, that's why I never cared where the ball went. That's why I was a shit athlete.
You weren't that bad. Remember, we played football together. You did okay.
And I'm actually thinner.
Oh, brilliant.
You didn't want to mention it, but you noticed.
We only played for an hour.
Then it was transformative.
You look great.
I lost a stone by the evening. So what went on the day that we took your blood? I want to know what stresses out Jill Scott.
So basically, I'm never stressed. No. Honestly, like anything can happen. And I always say, has anybody died today? No, everything's fine. But this particular day, so my partner, Shelley, was coming home from work and her eldest daughter had decided to kind of give her a surprise because she'd been travelling for 6 months. So she turned up. I was like, what are you doing here? Then there was a knock on the door. Very polite man turned up asking for my blood.
Yeah.
So I was kind of doing this blood thing. Then a guy turned up asking to clear the drains out the back.
That's high pressure.
Yeah.
Missing fiance. The guy doing the drains, was he random or scheduled?
Well, to be fair, just let him in the house. And then I realised that we don't even have any drains in the garden. So I don't know where he went.
Well, I will tell you that does impact the test.
Okay.
I think that our resident scientist, Nicola, might say it's kind of 3 months of lifestyle stress, but I will give it to you. I think the day that the blood is taken.
I was going to say that actually, because how long does the stress take to get into my blood?
On a normal person, Jill, 3 months, but you, seconds.
So I can't use this as an excuse, can I?
I think
really?
you can.
Okay.
I think your blood moves faster. What makes you feel young, Jill?
I definitely feel young in my mind. Like I turned 38 recently. And I remember looking back at when my mum was 38. I think she had 3-4 kids by then.
Yeah.
And I just don't feel that age. Like, I was playing five-a-side football the other day. And sometimes I think I'm still running around because I'll still do a little bit of football. And I'm like, wow, I'm 38. I walk around with a rucksack, maybe Converse trainers on. And I'm like, yeah, I still think I'm 21 in my mind. So I feel like my age is getting older. I'm not saying I look young. My mum is very honest and she does tell us that I definitely look my age. So
You do not.
no, I do. And I take it. But in my body,
Jill, if I could stop you there, you got the little body of a Victoria's Secret model. You look like a teenager with hardly a scrap of makeup on today.
Oh,
Your mother is gaslighting you. It's called negging. That's what the women used to, they're kind of toxic, those girls. They grew up in a difficult time.
Should I tell my mum that? She looks great for her age though. My mum she'll kill us for this, but she turns 70 soon. And honestly, I would say she looks probably about 55. She looks great.
Well, that is a tick in the youth box for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, she probably just is a different kind of young than you are.
But she really looks after herself. Like, even when I go home now and I'll have a cup of tea and, you know, you've just gone home and I really want a chocolate bar or something like that. And everything in the fridge is 0%. 0% butter, 0% cheese. And she has that dark chocolate, which is like 98%. I don't even know what it is, but it tastes horrible.
It's coffee somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so bitter. I think that's bad. Not to get too much into the 0% things, but I read that there was a conspiracy in the 30s to up sugar intake amongst the population because it was cheaper to process food that way. You could make it processed and they would take the fat out of things. And during that time, 30s, 50s, women really wanted to be thin. People really wanted to be thin. And they go, we take all the fat out. But to take the fat out, you have to put in like sugars and oils or like preservatives.
Oh,
so your mom's not young, she's pickled.
Yeah, okay. So that's my story. I just want a chocolate bar.
And I think you deserve one.
Thank you.
Is there anything that makes you feel older?
Probably the way that I am. So, for example, I was at a football match yesterday. My best friend was there. My brother lives in Spain, and I met up with my friend, and they got on the beers. And do you know what? I'm just not at that age where I kind of want to just drink. And I was like, I'm going to go and get a coffee, and then I'll meet you after for the football. And I sat there and I thought, am I really boring? Like, I really wanted to be on the pints of lager, and it looked fun, but it's just not me.
And would you have been like your classic northern party girl in your youth?
No, definitely not. I tried to do it when I was like 18, 19. I did the whole Magaluf and everything else, and I really didn't like it. I remember going out for food. It was 8 o'clock at night. I was 18. There was about 10 of us, and then they were like, the party started at 4 a.m. And I was like, 4 a.m? How do you stay awake till 4 a.m? So we'll go to this party, and it was meant to be one of these big foam parties, and a tannoy comes over the room going, we've run out of foam, so they're just spraying us with cold water while we're drinking 4 o'clock in the morning, and I just wanted to be in bed. I'm not a party animal at all. Are you a party animal?
Never was, just like you. I was not into it.
Really?
I tried a few times when I was young, but it's the same kind of story.
Yeah.
Like everyone else seemed to have a lot more stamina for that kind of thing. I think you and I maybe had higher standards. Yeah. I don't want to be sprayed with cold water at 4 a.m. Like I know that I'm born better.
Yeah.
You deserve better. And you had things to do. So presumably, like today, you were coming to see me. I'm sure you've got meetings later in the day. Yeah. Things in your life as a high performance woman that are standing in your way of getting wasted on a Sunday evening.
Yeah. And do you know what? It was one of them, like, I don't say this for people to say anything different, but I was a very average footballer. I just worked hard. I didn't drink hardly. I really looked after myself because I knew I had to do that to, like, play for England and stuff like that. So, yeah, but now I definitely like the odd glass of red wine.
Yeah.
More than ever.
There's a football worded question here that's been written by a producer.
Okay.
I'm going to try to ask it to you with authority, like I know what it means. Jill Scott, if your life were a football match, where are you up to? Halftime, a second half comeback, or waiting for the final whistle?
Oh, well, waiting for the final whistle is like I'm dead.
Yeah. It's a rude question, I feel.
So I don't think I'm there yet. As soon as you said it, halftime probably stuck out to us.
Yeah.
I'm approaching 40. If I live till I'm 80, that's quite a good life, isn't it? My grandma's actually 91.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like the sound of that. That's
Yeah.
going to bode well for this study.
Yeah, so I think I'd go half time.
And what's your grandma like at 91?
You know what? She's so sharp in her mind, so sharp. Like, yeah, she's definitely all there. I rang her the other day. I'm like, what have you been doing today? She's like, the same as I bloody always do, sat in my chair. But we'll try and get her out a little bit. But I've got a funny story actually about my grandma. So we had this thing where we had to phone our bank. There'd been like a payment come out of our bank. So she's on the phone and we've got to go through security questions. So they're going, where do you live? And I'm kind of trying to say, well, 21. And she's like, and the woman on the phone goes, is somebody whispering to you? But I was just trying to help her, 'cause it was like, can you name a direct debit that comes out of your bank? And even at the age of 38, sometimes I can't remember that stuff. So we'll get to the end of these questions and the last one's like, okay, Jean, can you just tell us your national insurance number? And I was like, oh, we're screwed now. And she just went, JT0426B. And I was like, how have you just remembered that? So she's definitely all there.
And
definitely.
now we know it.
I know, yeah.
Fraud complete. And you're so physically fit, but it sounds like you value mental fitness. Like if I could choose one at the end of my life, well, and I can't because it will be mental fitness. I don't have the physical fitness now, but you could have both. Which one at 91 do you think you would prefer to have?
That's a really difficult one because I do like being outside. So at 91, I would still like to be able to go for a walk, even if it was just 20 minutes, maybe grab a coffee. I love coffee. But yeah, that is a hard one. It's a hard one. So you'd rather have mental fitness?
Well, I don't have a choice, Jill. Someone like me.
Okay.
I basically sit in my chair all day like Nana as well. Mental fitness is all I've got, and it's on the wane. But you could have both.
Yeah, I think I would like to have my physical fitness. On my dad's side, my grandma, she was still playing netball at like 81 for a team. So yeah, I think I would like my physical fitness.
And you know, if you enjoy walks and going outside and you've been quite serious in your partying versus business ratio this far, maybe that's the time for you to become a massive pisshead.
What, at 90, just like, you know what, let's get the brandy out, the port.
Like, I don't need my mental sharpness. I'm going for a rollerblade.
Let's just get drunk.
The rollerblading must make you feel young.
Yes, I love rollerblading. I love that.
Yeah. You look like Bart Simpson going up and down.
I can't see myself, though, at 91 on rollerblades, really. But yeah, that's just something in lockdown I spoke about it. Obviously, football was taken away from us a little bit in terms of playing games and matches. And I thought, you know what, I've never been allowed to rollerblade because you have to sign a contract where you can't go skiing, can't go on rollerblades because you've got to look after your knees. But I did break that in lockdown, bought myself some rollerblades. And yeah, again, I think I was 35, 34, rollerblading around the street. I think the neighbours must think I'm actually crazy.
No, I think it's cool. What else were you going to do in lockdown?
I know. I was rollerblading.
And in a happy relationship.
Yeah.
I'll get to your relationship, but I'm most concerned about the impact because I've seen you in action. Now I'm obviously a huge fan of football in general, women's football.
Love that.
I don't like the male lioness team, but I prefer
the male lioness
team. I don't really like it because I feel like they cry a lot and they fall down. But I like the original lionesses. But I think it looks like it takes a toll. Like you're side tackling people, you're doing things, it's your joints.
Yeah.
Do you think sport has a big impact on your body?
Definitely on my knees. My knees, like if I sit down for a long time. I did this thing the other day, Portrait of the Year, it's called. Have you ever done that?
No.
And you have to sit for about 6 hours, and my body was killing us. Just sitting for like 8 hours, my knees seized up.
And do you do anything to counteract that? Are you doing acupuncture or these chambers or saunas?
I should do. Can you remember when we put you in the cryotherapy chamber, which is like, what is it, minus 50 degrees or something like that? How did you find it?
I had to relinquish my Canadian citizenship after that. They were like, you don't like being cold? It was hard for me.
Yeah. But that's what we used to do for recovery. So after a game, we'd go in this chamber and it almost like freezes your body. But I have had kind of like a bad back and a bad neck of heading the ball a lot. But what I tend to do is you should probably go and see someone who works in backs and necks and stuff like that, maybe once a week to keep on top of it. But I get to the point where I can't move and then I make an emergency appointment. So,
Oh no, Joe.
yeah, it's not great.
I feel like, especially in retirement,
Yeah.
I don't think you've really understood the definition of retirement. I think that's what I'm noticing is that you're everywhere. You're working harder than ever. But I think you're supposed to be treating yourself. You should be having weekly massages.
Yeah.
Do you think the boys are doing that? Acupuncture?
Yeah, I think so. But then I think when you go into a different line of work, obviously I'm not involved with sports as much.
Yeah.
And as you say, life has been busy. But you know what? I love it. I love the busyness of life.
Yeah.
I'm not somebody who sits down, puts the TV on. Even when I turned a full-time professional footballer, I was 26, would finish at 2:00 and I'd then go and work like maybe in the coffee shop, or I'd go and run a soccer camp, or I'd just always have to be on the go. Even now, it gets to like 7, 8 o'clock, probably the time you've had your tea, you want to unwind, and I'm like, right, I'm going to go and walk the dog. So I do think I probably got a little bit of like ADHD maybe.
ADHD or maybe PTSD from women's football, where I know that even though it was well attended and the game's changing now and the women are being paid more fairly, I won't say fairly,
Yeah.
but you did it at a time where you all have full-time jobs as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that can't be good for you.
Obviously we didn't and still don't get the money that the men do, but it was never about the money for me. But life was very busy. But I look back now, I'm sure you look back at certain times of your life and think, God, how did I juggle having babies and work and everything else? But sometimes I just believe your reality is your reality. You don't know any different, do you? I step out now and I think, God, could I do that? Probably not, but I loved it. I was surrounded by great teammates, great people. And I do think that is one thing. I get my energy from people.
Yeah.
I can be with people all day and I'll go home just feeling like I've got loads of energy. If I'm on my own, I feel really like deflated and tired.
No.
Yeah. So being with you today, I'll have a real boost when I leave here.
Well, we'll see. We will see. Is it true that you slide tackled? I've been calling it side tackled all day.
That's all right.
Have you side tackled anyone? Is it true that you slide tackled Prince William?
Yes, I did.
In what context?
Yeah.
Saw him on the street?
Yeah, and just thought, let's slide tackle him on Oxford Street. No, he was actually up in Newcastle opening this new facility, and they said, oh, we just want to get some pictures of you playing football. And I put my trainers on and it was on AstroTurf, so I ran up to him, he had the ball, and I thought, oh, I'll just like get there, you know, like just do some pretend like tackling. I slipped and I went straight into him, and yeah, he went flying, I went flying, and I was so apologetic. But going on from that, whenever we went to a World Cup, a European Championship, he used to come and support the Lionesses, which was great. He loves his football, Aston Villa fan. And every time he seen us, he was like, I'm staying away from you in case I was going to slide tackle him. But yeah, not my greatest moment.
Well, I like that Jill Scott does nothing pretend. You're like, I'll just do pretend. But your body was like, no, we are Jill Scott.
I did slip.
Sure. I would like to ask you about your childhood.
Yep.
Tell me about growing up in sport, because I know before football you were a runner.
Yeah. Well, kind of football was always my first love. So if you ask us to remember a time before football, I don't, because my earliest childhood memories are probably like 4, 5. You know, some people remember themselves when they were like 2.
No.
Do you?
I don't.
No, I don't.
I think those people are lying.
Yeah, like I think my first memories are 5, and that's why I think, why do people put so much into the kids at like 2, 3, 4? Because they're not going to remember it. You know, all that money you spend on ballparks and museums. Yeah, just put them in the garden. But anyway, so yeah, my earliest memories are football, just kicking a ball around with boys mainly. But then, yeah, I got into running as well. And then I got to a point, I think I was 14, where I had to choose which one to do because I suffered with glandular fever.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but I think it was just that everyone said it was a kissing disease, but I didn't even have time to kiss people. I was running, I was playing football, and I think I was just doing too much. And it got to the point where it was like, if you're going to take, you can't take both these sports as seriously as you are because you're training twice a day, and I had to choose one. And
so you've always been like this?
Yeah,
Just
always.
doing as much as you could, packing it all into one day?
Yeah,
to the
much.
point of getting glandular fever.
Yeah. Like when I was 14, I remember having like a cross-country national like run, like a race on the morning, and then playing in a cup final on the afternoon. So I was definitely doing too much.
And we call that mono in Canada, the glandular fever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you have to use simple words with us. And so all I know about mono is girls who got it at my school, we didn't see them for like a month.
Yeah.
You'd be exhausted.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Lyme disease. Some people would never recover
Yeah.
fully from that. So what did your time out look like?
I remember just being stuck on the settee. I think it can even affect you for like 6 months, 7 months. But I did get rushed into hospital. I was put on like penicillin. So yeah, I remember being on the settee for about a month, and I hated my life, hated it.
Jeez. And where did all these boys come from? Did you have siblings, just boys in the neighborhood you wanted to play football with?
So a brother, he
Yeah.
used to let us go and play football with him, which I look back now, I was with him yesterday. He actually lives in Madrid, and
Yeah.
I said to him, thank you for letting us play football with you, because he was probably about 10 and I was 6, and it mustn't have been cool to take your little sister. I think he used to just put us in goal, but I was thankful that he let us play with like him and his mates. And then, yeah, just local teams, but it was always boys that were playing. And then as I got older, I found a girls' team. And I think that was when I found like kind of my real sense of belonging. I was like 10, 11 years old, and I was like, wow, there's other people like me. Whereas up until that point, I thought, am I the only girl that likes football? So yeah, my love of football got us through my childhood, and yeah.
And were girls allowed to play in school at that time?
No, I remember hitting 8, 9 years old, and I was playing for a boys' team, and the coach took us to one side, and it was my life. I absolutely loved it. And they just said, look, Jill, girls can't play anymore in this league. It's only boys. And I went home crying my eyes out. I was so gutted, so gutted. My mum told us to do netball, but I didn't. I just wanted to play football. Them kind of opportunities shouldn't be taken away from you unless you choose to make that decision. But it's good. Times are changing for women's football, especially in England, and that's what makes us happy.
Especially when there's no alternative, though, when they just send you home. They go, sorry, Jill, it's netball. You go, what?
It's so true. I remember that day so vividly. This is going to sound so mad, but you know, certain parts of your career. I remember my mum must have been like cooking like fish or something in the house. And like, I just walk in, whenever I think about that decision, I just think about fish, which is so random, but the house must have just stunk. But yeah, so not only was I gutted, I probably left the house smelling of fish as well. So it wasn't a very good day that day.
Bad day. Almost as bad as the gutters day.
Exactly.
I read that they're changing the color of shorts.
Yes.
Because they're actually taking notice that women have to play on their period, and it's a risk to be in white shorts. What's that about?
Yeah. Who knew that women have periods?
I knew, because in the commercials, the adverts for tampons, these women are all sporty. They are skydiving, rollerblading, swimming.
Yeah.
Periods are very sporty in the marketing campaigns.
Yeah. I think, you know what, when I look back, I did a campaign actually for it recently, and we were like having real conversations about playing sport and being on your period. And it was kind of just to speak openly about it, because there's young girls that are going to go through that. And it is very, very daunting. Like, obviously, you know yourself, you're a woman. When you have your period, like, you can be heavy and you can feel terrible. And the last thing you want to do is go and exercise. You want to probably lie in bed with a hot water bottle. But yeah, there was so many times I remember kind of having this anxiety as I got older. And I'd be like going into football going, are we playing in white shorts today? Or is it like navy or whatever? And if I knew that it was going to be a darker colour, it was like, and if you knew it was going to be white, like, there'd be moments where you'd be going to play the game and you just say to your mate that you were playing with, like, oh, can you just like look out in case I've like leaked or anything like that? And yeah, so I remember when it came in that they were changing the colour of the shorts, and I was like, this is so simple to do. Why didn't they do this ages ago? So I do think it's such a great thing. I really do, because I think it just removes that kind of anxiety of kind of playing sport on your period.
Let's talk about your retirement.
Retirement.
It sounds so young to retire at 35.
Yeah.
But in a sports context, I guess not. Was there a moment that you knew, all right, this is the end of the road?
I always describe it as, you know, when you have a breakup, a relationship breakup, and you have them breakups where it just breaks up. Something happens and it's like a sudden breakup. But then you also have them ones where you're not sure for a year, 2 years, and you're kind of like gradually breaking up. And I feel like that's how I'd describe my retirement from football. So my last 2 years, I wasn't really enjoying it. And then I'd have some good moments and I'd think, oh, I still kind of want to be playing. And then there was an Olympics and a Euros to aim for. And in my head, I was like, oh, I really want to go to them tournaments. I knew the team were absolutely flying. I knew we were going to win the Euros kind of the year before. I was like, this team will win the Euros, so talented, could go through the fantastic team that they were. And I knew I had to be there. I was like, this has to be my ending. So I didn't really think, it was a weird one, but I think I kind of fell out of love with it a little bit in my head. Club football wasn't going very well. I had a particular manager at the time who weren't really getting on. But I found a way through it. I went on loan for 2 seasons, found my love for the game a little bit more and managed to make that Euros.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a good ending.
It's good to have you on the team when you knew it was going to be successful from the start. That's how you'd want to go into something like that.
Yeah, and it was a perfect ending for me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Wembley, 90,000 people, finally getting that gold medal. I'd played for England for 16 years. I'd done 10 international tournaments and never won that gold. So that day at Wembley, there would have been no point in trying to push my body to play on because I was like, I'm never going to get this moment again. Like in comedy, I don't know, what would that moment be for you?
I don't have a Wembley like that. I don't have a thing like that.
Do you not?
No. I was reading about Beyonce struggling to sell her latest tour, and that may be false. I don't understand how it could happen, but
yeah,
the tickets are not moving quickly. And then someone in the press wrote, sometimes an artist doesn't retire. The fans retire the artist, and that'll be me.
No way. No.
Yeah,
People will always buy your tickets.
We'll see. I might get canceled, Jill. I might become like really problematic soon.
If you haven't been cancelled yet, I think you're all right.
Yeah. If I haven't been canceled by now, I'm okay. I'm over 40. I'm a white woman. Anything could go wrong. Do you feel that your body has been able to chill out a little since retirement, or is now when all these like joint issues are cropping up?
You know what I do? I always give myself kind of like an hour in the day where I always sit down, have a coffee and just have some time to myself. I'll probably get in trouble for this, but my partner Shelley, she knows I do this, but she'll be like, what time are you home? And I'm like, oh, I'll finish at like, I'll say, oh, I'll finish at 3, and really I finish at 2 and I'll go and have a coffee. But I like just to kind of have that time to myself, just to kind of get my thoughts in process. So yeah, I've definitely kind of chilled out a little bit more. I think I understand myself. I understand what I need. I like to give energy to people, and I think I know what I have to do to enable that. So yeah, I would say I've chilled out a little bit more. Maybe instead of 1 coffee, I get to have 2 coffees. But yeah.
Caffeine is a big part of the life, the family business.
Yeah, but I hear different things about caffeine. Is it good for you?
I think it's a drug, and I think it is inflammatory.
Yeah.
But the benefits of having just a little bit of coffee, the energy that you get from it, it's diuretic for people. It gives them like surely something. I love coffee, but I don't have more than 2. I'm like you.
Yeah, I only have 2 a day. Yeah. 2 a day. And someone told us I should swap it for ginger tea because that's an anti-inflammatory. But why would you swap coffee for ginger tea?
It doesn't make any sense.
I know.
It's not a swap.
It's like when you get a substitute at the supermarket and you want a jack of potatoes and then they send you like toilet roll.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
This episode is sponsored by Absolute Collagen, supplements that work to help us feel and look younger. Every week on this show, we're talking about biological versus chronological age, looking for ways to feel great no matter what our birth certificates say. And Absolute Collagen is a small change we can make to improve our skin, hair, and nails. So I'm doing the collagen commitment for the next 12 weeks. I'll be taking Absolute Collagen and telling you firsthand how great I feel and look as I go. With 8,000 milligrams of type 1 marine collagen, the optimal daily dosage for maximum effects, plus the right amount of vitamin C for the collagen to absorb with no nasties. Join me in my 12-week collagen commitment and get 30% off your first 3 orders of a 28-day subscription with promo code What'sMyAgeAgain30 at AbsoluteCollagen.com. New customers only, not able to be used with other discount codes, valid until the 30th of August. Let's talk about TV, because that's how I know you. And we're all just, very blessed to see this other side of Jill Scott. You're actually quite annoying because you're good at every single thing.
I'm not.
It's very difficult as a comedian to see you being funnier than the comedians. It's really hard because I think, well, I can't also play football. I'm not also a business owner.
I'll take that as a massive compliment from you.
Absolutely true. And you're doing a show with my dad's favorite person, Roy Keane.
Oh, yes. You know what? Roy is so funny. Like, I actually do think, and I don't say this lightly because I have such a respect for comedians. I really do. Like, my paths have crossed with loads of you guys recently, and I think you're all like absolutely amazing at what you do.
But
no, I think Roy could be a comedian.
Yeah.
I do. He's so quick. And yeah, it's great. Obviously, those guys are the ones that I looked up to when I was playing football because there wasn't many women playing football. So Roy Keane, Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher, Ian Wright, I would watch them every single week. I'd have them in my sticker book, and now I'm doing a podcast with them. But you know what? They're great guys, really good guys. Yeah, I am a bit younger than them, but yeah, I feel so kind of honoured to be involved in that podcast, and I really, really enjoy it. I do.
And it's great to have you just as a breath of fresh air and as a woman, of course, and you don't feel as included, I think, as a listener if it's just an echo chamber of these older guys talking about stuff that they know. But I think your curiosity makes it really exciting.
Yeah, I think it's that because I am genuinely excited by their stories. And yeah, I think at first, as soon as I sat down, I don't even think we'd recorded the first episode. We just took a picture and they were like, why is that woman there? Why is there a woman sat at that table? But you know what? It's one of them things. You just have to kind of live in them spaces and kind of show that you can interact, have a laugh, and you can like genuinely contribute to conversations, because sometimes if you do something with a male player, they might have played for England, you've played for England, but I feel like they probably get the respect a lot quicker than you do. So you kind of have to earn your stripes a little bit. But ever since being little, 5, 6, 7 years old, I've always been a girl kind of in a boy's world. And I've always had to earn my stripes, and I wouldn't kind of change it. I've always had to work hard for what I've got. I was never like the manager's favourite player, so you just get a start or you get the trophies. Like, I've always had to work for what I get. And I think sometimes when that is the case, when you do get that trophy eventually, it means a lot more. So yeah, but I love it. I absolutely love the podcast.
And that's called Stockholm Syndrome. You have patriarchy, Stockholm Syndrome. Like, I loved working for every single thing I had and being recognized much less than the boys. I loved it. You have more caps than most of the boys. England caps. Don't know what those are. Are they hats?
Yeah, so basically...
they're important, and I know that, Jill. But
well, when you play for England, it didn't used to happen with the women's team. So we used to get one every time you competed in a tournament. So as I said before, I did 10 international tournaments, and you would get a cap for that. But then the boys would get one every time they played for England. So the rule changed halfway through my career, and this box just appeared at the door. And I think it had like 75 caps in. There's a movie called The Prestige. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah.
It's my favourite movie. I love it. And you know the scene where all them hats are just, puts them in the machine and the hats just duplicate all over. It's like a scene out of Prestige in my front room. But yeah, so I played 161 times for England. I've got it tattooed on my arm, but yeah, each one was such an honour.
Who was number 2 and 3 before they changed the rule? Because they must have been pissed.
What, for the caps?
Yeah, like, well, what boys did you knock off?
You still get the caps. What boys did you knock off? I've never been asked that question.
What boys did you toss off the 2nd and 3rd spot?
So you still got the caps, as in, so if I played 80 times, I'd still have 80 caps, but I wouldn't have the caps.
Oh, I
so
see.
You still got the achievement.
Oh, fine.
But you didn't physically have the cap. So I finished. So Farrah Williams is the most cap player in football, and then I'm second. So yeah, but she deserves to be first. Incredible player.
Okay, I'll allow it. Do you do anything to combat the visible signs of aging? Are you doing Botox or any of that kind of stuff?
Oh God, what should I admit to?
You don't have
on a
to
podcast. No, I have had a little bit of Botox, yeah. Had a little bit here. little bit here, a little bit here.
I mean, you're on television.
I don't do too much in terms of, like, when I go to get makeup, they'll go, oh, you've got like good skin. And they'll be like, what do you do? And I know this sounds really bad. I don't even think I wash my makeup off properly. So I am quite bad. Wake up on the morning, I do, you know, the eye patches?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like them because I do get bags under my eyes. And a little bit of moisturiser. I use one called Kiehl's. I'm not trying to get a plug, but if you want to send us some. Put a little bit of moisturiser on my face and that's it.
SPF?
Yes, but you know what? I was using it for ages and didn't realise it didn't have SPF in. Now I get the one with 30 SPF
Did you get any sunburns that year?
No, I would always wear sun cream.
Oh,
if I was
fine.
going in the sun, always put sun cream on.
Because that's the one I worry about the most.
Yeah, but I do like the sun. It's
Yeah.
It's a bit of a weakness. I think that's what my mum says to us. She's like, you're in the sun a lot doing sport. So that probably ages you a bit, but I do love the sun. I was like, I'd rather look old and be happy. It makes us so happy.
Your mother is not coming across like a nice person on this podcast, I'll just say.
She is a nice person.
I know.
Yeah.
She's just of her generation, and my
Yes.
mom's the same.
Yes.
My grandma used to tie a string around my mother's waist as hard as she could, push my mom up against a wall, like with consent, and like tie a string as tight as she could to remind my mother not to eat. And that's from like the age of
Really?
10. They're a very toxic generation. Let's talk about your family life.
Yes.
Shelley, the
Yes.
wonderful Shelley, whom I know.
Yes.
Do you think that being in a long-term engagement stresses you, releases your stress, would make you feel more young?
I tell you what I do like about my relationship is Shelley's never really been into football. So I think whenever, and this is probably something that's carried on from my childhood as well, like my mum was so good at letting us go to football. And when I came home, she wouldn't be like, what was the score? Did you play well? Asking us loads of questions. I could just go and play football and then come home. And then I think, obviously being with Shelley, she'll say it was, did you have a good day? And it's funny because when you said there about how many hats have you got, that's something that she would say. And it's like stuff that makes us laugh. So I definitely get that time at home just to switch off.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say it definitely de-stresses us when I'm home. Definitely.
So I'm your type is what you're saying.
Yeah, you are exactly my type.
I thought so.
Don't tell Shelley that.
And my husband's an athlete too.
Yeah.
I guess maybe 2 athletes is too much.
Yeah, because I think you'd probably go home and you'd be like then talking about sport. And it's like you don't want to go home and talk about comedy and stuff like that, do you?
No.
So it is nice to have that switch off time.
Luckily, no one in my house respects me. Everyone in my house has been inside me. None of them respect me. Yeah.
That is so funny.
It sucks. I'm like, I sleep in my children's nursery like the fucking dog off Peter Pan. Like, my life is hard.
Do you need to talk to someone?
Yes.
Okay.
I've got an appointment Friday.
Okay.
Do you feel that your relationship with Shelley has changed since your retirement? Are you able to do things you couldn't do before?
Yeah, I think it's one of them where we've constantly kind of had to like evaluate, I suppose. I think relationships are about communication, aren't they? And I think one thing that was probably difficult for her was when I was playing football, I was so busy, but that's all she ever kind of knew. And she moved to Manchester and it was a big move. Obviously, she's got 2 daughters as well, so it was a big move for her. We made it work, which was brilliant. And then I think when I said I was retiring, she probably pictured, well, we'll be on these holidays and I'll have loads of off time and stuff like that. But the opportunities that I got were incredible, which she fully backed, obviously going into the jungle and stuff like that. People recognise you a lot more as well, which does change life. And I think we just had to navigate through it. But yeah, it's been great. And don't get us wrong, we've been on some great holidays and we've had some great opportunities, but we've definitely had to communicate because I've probably changed in the 7.5 years we've been together. I've changed, she's changed, the girls have changed. And I think communication is definitely the key.
And that's what being a lesbian is all about. We don't have that in straight relationships.
What, you don't talk?
No. I talk all the time. But I think that's great if you can keep an open line of communication because you're living like totally different life than you were when you met.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as women, you do probably talk a bit more. I hope that doesn't come
Is it
across
too
as
much, do you think?
sexist. But, well, I think you just have to say how you're feeling, don't
Yeah.
you? But I'd rather know how somebody was feeling. And
know.
then, yeah, definitely. But then if you get the difficult thing is if you get that week just before you probably due on and you're both kind of a bit over emotional, yeah.
And do you sync up with the moon because you live all together and the girls?
Yeah, probably a little bit. So there's probably one day where we have to be, let's just stay away from each other. We'll we'll all regroup tomorrow.
That's what's good about having my daughter be a teenager now, is I've got backup in the house for that.
Yeah,
We're
girl
like
power.
the Destiny's Child of emasculation, like an ovulating Avengers assemble. My husband stands no chance. I'm going to read your results soon.
Oh, I'm a bit nervous.
Do you have any nice anecdotes about Roy Keane before we open your test that I could take back to my dad? Any fun stories that we've not heard?
Oh, I think the ones that people always speak about are when people ask him for a picture. I think instead of just doing the picture and it'll probably be over within 2 seconds, he gives people this massive lecture about why do you want a photo? Why have you followed us for the last 10 minutes? And I'm like, you've just wasted another 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But he does do the picture at the end. So, yeah. And do you know what? I love his passion for the game, but he is a caring guy.
Yeah.
He is a caring guy.
Do you know what I love about Jimmy Carr, who's my Roy Keane, is that when we're walking along in public, if people ask him for a photo, he's very friendly. Yep, let's take. But he doesn't stop walking. He doesn't even slow down.
Really?
So he's like, come along. So the people have to keep up,
Run after him.
take the photo. It's a bit blurry because we're on the move, but Jimmy Carr on the move.
You know, my first episode of A League of Their Own,
Yeah.
and obviously I'd never been in that world. I was like, why have I even been chosen to do this? And it was like a live show in terms of the audience being there. And he just hammered me. And I was like, oh my God. But it was good for us because I was like, I don't think you're going to get anyone as kind of quick fire as Jimmy. So it was like survival mode. And I got through it I think.
I'm going to tell you your results now.
Oh.
Are you ready to receive these, Jill
I don't know
Scott?
if I am. So this tells us like the inflammation in my body and...
It's mostly that. I will invite Dr. Nicola Conlon to explain more because I'm very stupid and poorly educated.
Oh, so there's a doctor here.
A science woman.
Wow.
I think it's time, Jill Scott, to find out how old you really are. We are joined by Dr. Nicola Conlon, a female science woman
Okay.
who can interpret the results for us.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Do you need her to read the number?
Would you prefer if it was read by a doctor?
No, you go on. I trust you.
Okay. Jill Scott. Oh, your result is 50 years old. That's 12
50?
years older than your chronological
Wow,
age.
that's so bad.
It's very surprising to me.
That is very surprising. Okay.
But
Maybe I
why?
was stressed that day.
We did. Well, Nicola, I'm going to pass this right over to you because I'm shocked. Could it be impacted by too much sport, too much stress, too much of too much?
Does
What's
this
happening?
mean I'm going to die young?
No,
Okay, that's good.
because biological age is reversible.
Okay.
Nicola.
Absolutely. So it is the one thing that you can absolutely reverse. But I guess the first thing to say is I really wasn't surprised by this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I
Bitch.
really,
She's a
honestly.
She's a science bitch.
Female science bitch.
I've definitely not been called that, but I'll take it. I'll take it. No, I wasn't surprised because this is really typical of what we see in elite athletes.
Oh.
This is actually really typical. So there have been studies done looking at, just a person that does an average amount of exercise versus someone who would be considered elite, somebody that is training every single day, maybe even multiple times a day,
Yeah.
with very limited recovery in between. And we see that they are biologically older. And the interesting thing is that usually exercise goes the opposite way. So it would make you biologically younger. So we see in people that do moderate exercise, they actually have a better biological age.
Oh, okay.
But as with anything in the body, it's all about balance.
Yeah.
So people that are exercising at such an extreme level, you actually see it go the opposite way. And to be fair, you've had decades of intense exercise, even
Yeah.
before football, doing running at county level, finals. You were obviously
Yeah.
training to a really high level from a very young age. And when you know, do a lot of intense exercise, it actually creates a bit of oxidative stress in the body. Now, at lower levels, the oxidative stress is actually really healthy for the body because it switches on repair processes and it triggers your body into actually repairing. But to the opposite end, where you don't actually give the body enough time to recover, and you just, you know, at a high level, oxidative stress all the time, you actually get chronic inflammation in the body, and this is actually damaging to our cells.
Yeah.
And this is what biological age measures. It measures the age you are on the inside at a cellular level. So it's looking at the damage.
Can you explain the glycan age test to me? Like, what exactly does it do? What's the mechanism of it to find this in the cell?
Yeah, so what this test is doing, and it's looking at levels of inflammation on the cells in your blood, okay?
Yeah.
So if we looked at a person with a young biological age or a young person, what we'd see is that they have a specific pattern of inflammatory markers in their blood.
Yeah.
And as you get older, this tends to drift and it changes into more of a pro-inflammatory state. So we literally took your blood,
Yeah.
and we are looking at what the levels of inflammation are in the blood. And it indicated that you have the level of inflammation that would be typically of somebody older.
50.
Yeah, typically of somebody age 50.
That's like Roy. I've
You've been hanging
Roy's
out with these
inflammatory-
old men too
Yeah.
long.
This is what's happened. So I've been on the podcast, they're all 50.
Do you know what the really interesting thing is as
Yeah.
well, though? That this is something that we see really impacts women more than men.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So in the studies where we were looking at the biological age of athletes, it only impacted the women and not the elite men.
Oh.
So
God, so they get everything and they still don't even get the inflammation.
This is
Can't
the
even
white
say the
shorts of glycolic age test.
word.
Why do you think that elite level exercise doesn't impact men the same way?
it's back to our physiology. It's
Yeah.
our hormones, and this is really why we have to somewhat, in terms of our physiology, also a disadvantage for recovery.
Yeah.
So we know that when women exercise to such a high level, especially when, first of all, they're not letting themselves recover, that's a big thing. And secondly, with nutrition, and not eating enough to
Yeah.
compensate for the amount of energy. If we see women go into an energy deficit, that is when it starts to mess up our hormones.
Oh, okay.
And we start to see an impact in our menstrual cycles. So we know in women that exercise a lot, sometimes their periods can actually stop.
Yeah.
And what happens is estrogen really starts to lower in the body. And estrogen is actually incredibly protective. So we know, first of all, estrogen will lower inflammation. We know that it actually helps with recovery. It also obviously helps with things like bone density.
Yeah.
And in women that are really at this level of high performance, we see the estrogen go down. And that means not only have you got this high level of, inflammation going on in the body, but you've also lost the protective effect of estrogen as well.
Wow.
So, that could be like a long-term thing if people, aren't getting the period, but also just like on a monthly cycle, you were speaking about how training and everything's impacted by being on your period. There was a study that showed that women who are a week before the period are 6 times more likely to get injured
Yeah.
than a guy, because of the effect of estrogen being protective on our joints, our tendons. So there really is an impact there.
Yeah. You know what I've got, because I've got 2 dodgy knees which are like bone on bone, and when I train I get a lot of inflammation because it's obviously trying to just give us a bit of like lubricant, I suppose. So I definitely know that I have inflammation in my body. Maybe I need to do this ginger tea.
I don't think it's worth it. Coffee's too
ginger-
delicious.
Ginger, so ginger has a lot of anti-inflammatory
Yeah.
properties to it, but coffee is not inflammatory.
It's not.
No,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
anti-inflammatory.
Is it?
Yes.
So how much coffee are we allowed, Nicola?
The studies kind of say around 2 to 3 cups. So
Yeah.
you could go
Oh,
past your 2.
fine.
I have about 2-3 on a bad day.
Yeah.
But
3 today.
it's got a lot of anti-inflammatory properties. So actually, you're doing a good thing there, having the coffee. So it's all good.
I can't believe I'm 50.
You're not 50, Jill. What I don't understand about this test is, could inflammation from something like joint injuries, could it trick the test? Or if, like me, I have an autoimmune disease, if someone who's otherwise like very young looking, very beautiful, very healthy, got loads of energy, eats well, trains well, could it be almost a red flag for undiagnosed autoimmune? Do you blame the league
So I'm going
for not
away
paying
from
the
here
women a month?
that I'm 50 and I've got an autoimmune disease.
Not like one of the bad ones.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're diagnosing you with an autoimmune disease.
I am.
So don't worry.
I come from here like Catherine Ryan's podcast. I'm going to go away buzzing. We're going to have such fun. Now I'm 50 with an autoimmune disease.
Well, I just don't think I believe the 50. That's why I'm looking for a differential diagnosis.
Okay.
And I think from looking at the results, so when we're giving you a number, but behind the number, there's lots of different things that we're measuring in the blood. There's multiple different biomarkers that we're measuring that kind of make up that number. And as soon as we saw the pattern, it was like, this is the same pattern that we see that is typical of intense physical exercise in elite athletes. So it fits very well with the studies.
Yeah.
But I honestly think if we'd have measured this before you retired, it probably would have been worse. So when we're looking at things, if you were looking at a red, amber, green, you were kind of like amber.
Yeah.
But I would have expected that if you were still training at such a high intensity, it probably would have been worse. And I think it probably has already come down. And as you go further away from that, intense period of your career, it will continue to improve because you are doing everything else right.
How do you get it down then?
Yeah, what specific things can
Jill be so when I looked at your lifestyle, so obviously you filled in a lifestyle questionnaire as well, and we know that lifestyle plays such a huge role in biological age. Obviously your lifestyle as a footballer has impacted it. And the other things that you're doing are actually you're eating fairly well. Sleep, you say you sleep amazingly. Sleep's such a big thing for recovery. You say you're amazing with stress. You don't really get stressed apart from the day, which I have to say I can't really let you use that as an excuse.
I don't think it would have got into my blood. It is like
the past 3 months that it's kind of measuring, unfortunately. But in terms of the only thing I could really say for you is maybe diet. So we know we ask about how many plants are you eating, what type of food are you eating, are you eating processed food? You did say you eat quite a lot of processed food. And
since retiring.
I was going to ask this. I was like, I imagine you've been so restricted that you had to eat like a really, restrictive diet that probably when you retired, you were like, right, get the chocolate bars out, No, I don't want the 98% chocolate. I want the...
It's so that I think when you're an athlete, obviously you go into football, all your food's there and you make the healthy choices. I think when you're on the go, there's a lot of just grabbing stuff. I might get in the house at 8 o'clock and it's like, oh, what's in? Just whack one of them lasagnas in the oven. So I definitely know that my diet could be better.
So really, really simple things to do are, first of all, just increase the variety and the number of plants. So this doesn't mean like become vegan or anything. It just means you're eating lots of different varieties. So whether that's, lots of different types of salad, fruit, vegetables, herbs, spices, coffee, tea, they even count as something from a plant. Because they have lots of beneficial compounds in that are really good for not only your gut microbiome, which also lowers inflammation across the whole body, but actually just for triggering a lot of pathways in our cells that help to deal with the inflammation. So that would be good. The other thing would be, do you take any supplements or anything like that? Or?
I take a vitamin tablet, probably. It's meant to be 7 times a week and it's in the car, so I'll probably do it about 3 times a week.
Well, there are some supplements that have been clinically proven to really reduce inflammation and lower biological age. So things like your omega-3 fatty acids are a very good one. You've also got things like vitamin D are very good for lowering inflammation. Curcumin, which is found in turmeric, and ginger.
I know.
Unfortunately, the ginger tea.
I used to do ginger shots when we played, so maybe I can purchase some of them. But
And what about these hyperbaric oxygen chambers for recovery or red light saunas or acupuncture for the joint inflammation, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So hyperbaric, have you ever done that? The hyperbaric oxygen as a footballer?
No, I
That,
don't
you know
think
what?
so.
That's so interesting because I bet every single male footballer has.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember being on nights out and you could go on oxygen for like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Is it that?
No, so it's basically hyperbaric oxygen is you go in a chamber and you breathe in 100% pure oxygen. Our usual air has about 21%, but it's under pressure. So it basically forces the oxygen into the cells. And then when you get out, your body kind of thinks it's gone into this state of lack of oxygen. So it panics a bit, but that's actually good. And it tells the cells to switch on repair and start like trying to get, go through this period of stress, even though
that's
you're not
amazing.
really. And it's been shown to not only reverse biological age, but lower inflammation, very good for recovery. And the other thing was, actually, you were right to put Catherine in a cryo chamber because there is evidence.
Oh.
Is
There
there?
is evidence.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that it lowers inflammation.
Okay.
And again, the way it works is it puts a little bit of stress on the body,
Yeah.
which is actually good. So a little bit of stress, good. Mega stress, not good.
Okay.
But a little bit is also always beneficial to the body.
So do you do the oxygen?
No, I've just learned about it
Oh,
from Nicola. I did try it once, but I need to build up my pressure because your ears go
Yeah.
like you're on a plane. And so you need to keep going.
yeah.
And it's like 150 pounds each time. So
Is it?
that's the play.
What, for one session?
Yeah. Or you can get one in your house for 60 grand.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. Let's all just do that. Yeah.
Let's phone up the league. You're like, excuse me? Are you putting the boys in these hyperbaric oxygen
I
chambers?
feel like I've definitely read that they do
Yeah.
have them in many of the top Premier League clubs now have hyperbaric oxygen.
Yeah, they probably do.
Well, Jill, this is a little bit wild, but as Dr. Conlon said, it's not unusual for an elite athlete to have an increased biological age.
yeah.
So will this change how optimistic you are about getting older?
I think, to be honest, I think it'll make us make some changes because I know that this past year my diet hasn't been very good and I've been thinking about it a lot, but I think that'll make us think I need to eat better. I do think that'd make a big impact on that. I think as an athlete, when you get something like that,
Yeah.
you suddenly go into, I need to do something about it. So I'll set myself a challenge. I'll be in an oxygen chamber tomorrow.
With plants.
Yes, I'm thinking about eating that one behind you. Yeah.
Well, Jill, thank you so much for being here. It's really heartening to probably the general population who think like, oh, I did the exact right thing by not exercising too much. But even if they have, this is all reversible.
Well, thank you for having us. I've really enjoyed this. 50 years old. Wow. I'm going to reverse it. I'm taking this on as a challenge.
I know you
Can
will.
I come back maybe for the next series?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll be there.
Thank you very much to my fantastic guest, Jill Scott. And thank you so much for listening to What's My Age Again. Please like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. This podcast is brought to you by Absolute Collagen. Thanks again to them for being part of the show. Try it for yourself and join my 12-week collagen commitment. Absolute Collagen are giving you 30% off a whole 12 weeks so you can see this too. Use code What'sMyAgeAgain30 at AbsoluteCollagen.com to redeem now. New customers only, not able to be used with other discount codes, valid until the 30th of August.